There comes a moment in every person's life when God begins to open their eyes, when God is preparing to take you to a higher level. He never does it casually. Elevation in your life is always preceded by revelation. Before God lifts you publicly, He deals with you privately. This is why, in seasons of preparation, God begins to expose things that were previously hidden motives, hidden intentions, hidden influences, and hidden enemies. What you are experiencing is not random chaos. It is divine alignment. God is clearing the path before He moves you forward. Growth requires purity, and elevation demands clarity. God cannot place new wine into old, contaminated vessels. So He begins by revealing what does not belong. The exposure of evil is not always dramatic or loud. Sometimes it is subtle, internal, and deeply personal. You begin to sense that certain conversations feel wrong, certain environments feel heavy, and certain relationships feel draining. This awareness is not negativity, it is spiritual maturity. God is sharpening your discernment because where He is taking you requires sharper vision. Many people misunderstand exposure and think it means failure, loss, or rejection. In reality, exposure is a sign that God trusts you with more. He does not reveal everything to everyone. He reveals to those who are ready to handle truth. If God is opening your eyes now, it is because remaining blind would be dangerous at the next level. What you tolerated before would destroy you where you are going. God exposes evil to prevent sabotage. The enemy often attacks right before promotion using familiar faces, comfortable habits, and subtle distractions. If these things remained hidden, they would eventually delay, corrupt, or completely derail your purpose. That is why God interrupts your peace, disrupts your comfort, and forces you to confront what you once ignored. He would rather disturb you temporarily than lose you permanently. Elevation also requires separation. When God prepares you for growth, He separates you from people and patterns that cannot go with you. This separation may feel painful, confusing, or lonely, but it is necessary. You are not being isolated, you are being refined. God is reducing the noise around you so you can hear Him clearly. What feels like loss is actually God removing weights that would slow you down. In this season, God is not just blessing you, He is protecting your future. Exposure is evidence that your life carries value. God only guards what is precious. The very fact that evil is being revealed around you proves that something powerful is being formed within you. God is ensuring that when you rise, nothing hidden can rise with you, not just to blessings, but to burdens, not just to opportunities, but to obstacles, not just to people who help, but to influences that quietly destroy. This season you are in is not accidental. God is exposing the evil around you because He is preparing you for elevation, peace, and purpose. Before God promotes you, He purifies you. Before He takes you higher, He removes what is pulling you down. There are moments in life when everything looks normal on the outside, yet something deep within you feels unsettled. Your spirit feels restless. Your peace feels interrupted. and your heart feels heavy without a clear explanation. Many people mistake this feeling for confusion, anxiety, or instability, but in reality, it is often divine conviction. God speaks not only through words, but through discomfort. When something no longer sits right with your spirit, it is because God is drawing your attention to it. Divine conviction is gentle yet persistent. It does not rush you, but it does not leave you alone either. You may find yourself questioning habits you once justified, relationships you once defended, and environments you once enjoyed. This shift is not weakness, it is growth. As you mature spiritually, your tolerance for what is wrong decreases. What once felt harmless now feels heavy because your spirit is no longer aligned with it. God uses discomfort as a warning system, just as physical pain alerts the body to danger. Spiritual discomfort alerts the soul to misalignment. When God convicts you, He is not condemning you. Condemnation pushes you into shame, but conviction pulls you toward correction. It comes with a sense of urgency mixed with love. God is saying, this cannot continue if you are to move forward. This is why ignoring conviction is dangerous. When you repeatedly silence that inner warning, you slowly dull your discernment. The more you ignore it, the quieter it becomes until confusion truly sets in. God allows discomfort early so destruction does not come later. What He is exposing now, He is trying to spare you from paying for later. Conviction also brings clarity, not chaos. You begin to see patterns instead of isolated events. You recognize that the same issues keep resurfacing because the root has not been removed. God is not confusing you. He is highlighting what needs to change. The unease you feel is an invitation to grow, to let go, and to realign your life with His will. In this season, God is teaching you to trust what you feel in your spirit more than what you see with your eyes. External appearances can lie, but inner conviction is truthful. If your peace disappears in certain situations, it is not coincidence. God is using that discomfort to guide you away from danger and closer to purpose. God's pattern has always been clear. Before elevation comes separation, and before promotion comes removal. Many people focus on what they want God to add to their lives, but God often starts by subtracting. He removes what is unnecessary, unhealthy, or unholy because it cannot survive at the next level. Promotion without preparation leads to collapse. So God ensures that what cannot support your future is taken away now. When God begins to remove things from your life, it can feel confusing and even painful. Doors close suddenly. Relationships change without explanation. Opportunities you once depended on disappear. But these removals are not setbacks, they are safeguards. God sees beyond the moment and into the future you cannot yet see. What seems like loss is actually divine prevention. Removal is also about protection. Certain people, habits, and environments may have been acceptable in one season, but become dangerous in another. God knows that what once helped you survive cannot help you thrive. If He allowed everything to stay the same, your growth would be limited. That is why God disrupts comfort. Comfort can become a prison if it keeps you from moving forward. Promotion requires integrity, discipline, and spiritual strength. God removes distractions that weaken your focus and attachments that dilute your obedience. He strips away false confidence and replaces it with dependence on Him. When God removes something, He is creating space for what truly belongs. He cannot fill hands that are already full of the wrong things. Many people resist removal because they associate it with rejection. But God's removal is rooted in love. He only takes away what threatens your calling. If something leaves your life when you are trying to walk closer to God, it is not coincidence. It is confirmation. God is aligning your environment with your assignment. This season of removal is evidence that promotion is near. That God does not prune trees that are not growing. He prunes those that are fruitful so they can produce more. What is being removed now would have limited your reach later. God is ensuring that when He lifts you, nothing from your past can pull you back down. One of the most common ways evil operates in a believer's life is through toxic relationships. These are not always obvious enemies or openly harmful people. Often, they are individuals who appear supportive on the surface, but slowly drain your spiritual strength. They speak doubt into your faith, normalize sin, discourage discipline, and make you feel guilty for choosing God over them. God exposes these relationships because spiritual progress cannot coexist with constant spiritual pressure. Toxic relationships work subtly. They do not attack your faith directly. Instead, they distract you from it. You pray less, worship less, and compromise more, not because you intend to, but because your environment influences your behavior. God knows that who you walk with determines where you end up. If your relationships pull you away from purpose, they are not sent by God, no matter how long they have been in your life. Many people struggle to let go of toxic relationships because of history, emotional attachment, or fear of loneliness. But God values your destiny more than your comfort. He exposes these connections so you can see them clearly, not through emotion, but through discernment. When God highlights a relationship, He's asking you to choose growth over familiarity. Toxic people often resist your transformation. The moment you begin to change, they accuse you of being proud, distant, or too spiritual. This resistance is a sign that the relationship was built on who you were, not who God is calling you to become. God removes these people because they benefit from your stagnation, not your elevation. Spiritual progress requires alignment. You cannot rise while constantly being pulled backward. God exposes toxic relationships to protect your peace, your focus, and your obedience. Letting go may feel painful, but holding on will be destructive. God is teaching you that not everyone who started the journey with you is meant to finish it with you. In this season, God is purifying your circle. He is showing you who sharpens your faith and who weakens it. The exposure you are experiencing is an act of mercy. God is separating you from voices that confuse you so you can hear His voice clearly. Not every battle in your life is loud or visible. Some of the most damaging struggles are hidden habits, patterns you excuse, behaviors you normalize, and routines you repeat in private. These habits may not look dangerous on the surface, but over time they quietly weaken your faith, dull your spiritual sensitivity, and drain your inner strength. God exposes these hidden habits because what remains hidden long enough eventually gains power. Hidden habits grow in secrecy. They survive because no one else sees them, and because you have learned how to justify them. You tell yourself it is temporary, harmless, or under control. But God sees beyond the action to its impact. He knows how these habits slowly disconnect you from prayer, reduce your hunger for His word, and replace spiritual discipline with spiritual laziness. What seems small now becomes heavy later. God exposes hidden habits because they create spiritual leakage. You may still believe, still pray, still desire God, yet feel unusually tired, unmotivated, or distant. That exhaustion is not random. It comes from constantly feeding two opposing forces, your flesh and your spirit. You cannot grow strong in God while secretly practicing what weakens you. Eventually, one will dominate the other. Many people fear exposure because they associate it with shame, but God exposes habits to bring healing, not humiliation. He reveals them so you can confront them with honesty and surrender. As long as a habit stays hidden, it controls you. The moment God brings it to light, its power begins to break. Exposure is the beginning of freedom. Hidden habits also distort discernment. Over time, they make you less sensitive to conviction. What once troubled your conscience no longer does. This is dangerous because a quiet conscience is not always a clean one. God interrupts this process by exposing what you have grown comfortable with. He refuses to let your spirit grow numb. In this season, God is calling you to integrity, being the same in private as you are in public. He is reminding you that strength is built in secret, but so is weakness. By exposing hidden habits, God is restoring your spiritual authority, renewing your hunger for Him, and rebuilding the strength that was slowly being drained. When God wants to get your attention, He often speaks through repetition. If a certain uneasiness keeps returning, if a situation continues to disturb your peace, or if a relationship consistently leaves you feeling unsettled, it is not coincidence. Repeated inner unrest is one of God's clearest warning signs. He uses it to alert you before danger becomes damage. God does not always shout. Sometimes He whispers through your spirit again and again until you listen. Inner unrest is different from ordinary stress. Stress comes from external pressure, but spiritual unrest comes from internal misalignment. Everything may look fine on the surface, yet deep inside you feel tension, heaviness, or resistance. This is the Holy Spirit signaling that something is off. God places this unrest within you as a protective mechanism, guiding you away from what could harm your faith, your purpose, or your future. Many people ignore inner unrest because it is inconvenient. It forces difficult decisions, uncomfortable conversations, and painful separations. Instead of addressing it, they distract themselves, hoping the feeling will pass. But when unrest is from God, it does not fade, it intensifies. God allows it to persist because silence would cost you more than discomfort. He would rather trouble your heart than allow your life to be destroyed. Repeated unrest also exposes compromise. It appears when you are tolerating what God is asking you to confront. Each time you overlook it, the unrest returns stronger, clearer, and more urgent. This is not God punishing you. It is God pursuing you. He is drawing a boundary and warning you not to cross it. What you feel is love in the form of correction. Inner unrest sharpens discernment. Over time, you begin to recognize patterns. Certain places, people, or choices always steal your peace. God is teaching you to pay attention to these signals. Peace is not just a feeling, it is a compass. When peace disappears consistently, God is redirecting you. One of the greatest deceptions in life is familiarity. Just because something has been part of your life for a long time does not mean it is good for you. Familiarity creates comfort, and comfort often lowers discernment. God exposes this truth because many people remain bound not by obvious evil, but by familiar patterns, familiar people, and familiar environments that slowly poison their spiritual growth. Familiar things feel safe because they are predictable. You know what to expect, even if what you expect is unhealthy. This is why people stay in toxic situations longer than they should. They would rather deal with what they know than face the fear of the unknown. God challenges this mindset by exposing the danger hidden within familiarity. What once felt normal begins to feel heavy. What once felt safe begins to feel restrictive. God allows familiar things to lose their comfort so you can see them clearly. When the grace that once covered a situation lifts, you begin to notice its true impact on your life. The jokes that once seemed harmless now feel inappropriate. The routines you once enjoyed now feel empty. This shift is intentional. God is removing the blindfold that familiarity placed over your eyes. Familiarity also breeds compromise. Over time, you excuse behavior you would never accept from a stranger. You tolerate disrespect, spiritual stagnation, and emotional manipulation simply because it has always been that way. God exposes this to break cycles that have quietly controlled your life. He refuses to let your past dictate your future. God's calling often requires you to walk away from what feels known and step into what feels uncertain. This is not easy, but it is necessary. Staying with what is familiar can cost you growth, peace, and purpose. God exposes familiar dangers because He sees where they lead, even when you do not. In this season, God is teaching you that safety is not found in familiarity, but in obedience. He is urging you to reevaluate what you have grown used to and ask whether it aligns with who you are becoming. What God is revealing now is meant to free you from cycles that comforted you but confined you.